Welcome, Eric. Welcome, Alex, Thomas. Good to see you all. Okay, I am in this agenda. I will share my screen. If you don't have access to the agenda, you can request access and someone will give it to you. Hi, Max. Ooh,
Hi.
filtering in. Okay, Dominic, who's just joining us, has the first item on the agenda. Is the Dominic black box here to talk about?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
still working on his audio setup.
Okay. Maybe we'll skip to this one first. Plop in that you put
But
in. Oh, go ahead.
actually, I'm kind of co-owning
Oh, great.
that topic. So
Sure.
maybe you can just open the RFC, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
yes. I think we discussed this on the community Slack previously.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, the idea is that we just have an easy way of adding new features to routes. A common request that we currently have is that the customers want to set their own routing algorithm. And right now, if we want to add that to routes, we would have to add that field to all structures, to all structs basically that are part of this chain. And that's fine if we do it once, but if we do it twice or thrice or even more often, it becomes quite the chore. And we would like to prevent that by implementing one way to just have a generic kind of
Dominic, can you mute yourself? We're
Yeah.
getting weird feedback from you.
Okay.
It's like a robot
Um,
attack.
so by having one kind of map thing called options or whatever, we could just change that, and the in-between components don't have to care too much about it. The kind of edge parts, so Go router and cloud controller would still have to be aware because they have to do validation and then act upon it. But I think it would cut a lot of the work that we have with adding new features in general to routes. And this is just requesting feedback from the community so that we first align a working group internally, I'd say. We also briefly discussed this with our SAP colleagues from the cloud controller team, but we would then also invite them more formally, I guess, for review if they aren't already. Yeah.
Thank you for writing this up. I haven't read it yet, so maybe you've answered these questions in the doc, but I'll ask them here. So let's just use this one as an example, the routing algorithm. So you set it in the options. Would you expect the cloud controller to save all these options as a block and like kind of just be like, oh, there's options, I'm saving it as JSON, I'm validating that it's JSON? Or would you expect it to say, oh, I'm going to look for this, and if so, I'm going to make sure it has one of the two allowed routes? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it would first validate that it's valid JSON and like parse it as a structure. It would know which fields exist, but I still think that it would probably store it in a generic way that doesn't rely on these specific fields so that we avoid migrating the database schema every time we add something. But we obviously still want validations on the individual fields to ensure that the type is correct and that if it's a string type, we have like an enum style type, or that when it's the cookie thing, that it has like a valid name that can actually be used as a cookie thing, because it breaks very late, and at that late point, we
Right.
basically have no way of talking back to whoever set this up, which will make troubleshooting a pain. So we need to kind of catch those things early.
So by doing this, when, you know, maybe you already have the load balancing one in, I want to add my cookie one, I would have to add some validation to, so I wouldn't have to change the CLI at all. That's nice. I would add some validation possibly to Cloud Controller, but I
Yes.
wouldn't have to update the Cloud Controller database.
Yes.
And we would change maybe Go router, right? Or whatever has to
Yeah.
has to
So,
take it in and affect it.
right now we aim for Go router as the kind of recipient of these messages. We haven't yet thought about other components that might be interested in those, but that could also be explored.
Oh, Dominic, you're gonna have to. You cannot talk.
Yeah, you've got
He's
some
bad.
sort of deaf metronome that's killing your audio.
Actually, he's sitting right next to me, so if he has to
That's
say
probably
something,
yeah.
we can
Come
maybe
on.
relay it.
Speak into Max's mic.
Wait, let me try something real quick.
That works.
Come over. Say
Hello?
something.
Hello?
Oh, that's
Can you
good. Yes.
hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the primary goal would be that in GoRudder, we would be able to have like the check, do we have a user configured property on the route? Yes, then use it, else fall back to whatever the operator is defined, right? So you would have this fallback
Right.
kind of notion to it.
So this will cover routes that come through Cloud Controller. Routes don't always come through Cloud Controller. Sometimes they come through like I guess they all
Route
go through
registrar?
NATS eventually. Yeah, route registrar. Could you imagine something like this being used for component routes or something?
Yeah, that's the cool thing, because route registrar also just sends a static nuts message basically. So adding that to route registrar is just like a very easy task. We would have the full kind of feature parity between route emitter in that case and then route registrar. And I think, for example, the connection limit makes much more sense for components that are platform side, because they usually can take more than a single app can take. So, for example, raising the connection limit, would be a very interesting option for them.
That connection limit though would be per Go router.
Yes, it is.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, there's no shared state yet.
Could you imagine a case where operators wouldn't want their devs to do this? Like, are you thinking about making this always available or on off?
That's a good question. So I can kind of answer that from our point of view. We would probably want to kind of control the bounds. So, for example, for the connection limit, we wouldn't want them to set anything. We would still kind of want to limit it to, say, at most 200 maybe, or whatever. I don't know what the current limit is. And then, I mean, load balancing algorithms, we currently only have 2, so there's not a lot of limitation to be done there. But in general, I see that there might be the need for some control from the operator side, which could include shutting down certain options. But I think the right place for this would then be actually the cloud controller, which is a bit weird. But I mean, when we have the validation there, it would also make sense to have the filtering there and have some sort of configuration that controls either specific validation boundaries, or maybe even enabling or disabling specific features. But it's not covered in the RFC. It's definitely a good point. The question is whether there is enough kind of demand for such things that it is worth adding, or if no
Eric,
one would
yeah,
use
what
it
do you
then.
think? Do you think
Yeah,
that would you would want it for an MVP?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen sporadic requests for being able to set like per route or per app load balancing algorithms. And honestly, the cookie thing might be kind of convenient because not everyone is going to use JSession ID. And we have had people add alternative cookies for sticky sessions. So if people could be a little bit more specific about which cookies they want to use for which apps, I could see that being really valuable. So yeah.
Do you think in an MVP you'd want the ability to have people, like for operators to turn it off? Or do you think wait until we hear feedback that operators don't want their devs to be doing things?
I don't know. I might have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Just about what the risk profile is.
Yeah.
So in general, this is more of a call to action, so to say. So
Yeah.
please take the time, read it, and feel free to raise comments so that we can refine this a bit.
This is great.
And so-
I really like the idea of handling these all in the same way rather than one by one. Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
And would this be on the app to route mapping?
It would
Or
be on the route. So this
okay.
we're coming from GoRouter's perspective, and GoRouter only really knows about routes. And so in theory, what you could do is you could with map route create two separate routes that use different connection limits but point to the same app, which is weird. But technically, with the current setup that we are imagining, this would be possible.
Mm-hmm.
But Eric, you're imagining a case where one route points to a blue app and one route points to a green app.
I'm just kind of thinking about I guess looking for places where the Go routers could get inconsistent information for different endpoints. Trying to figure out how they would reconcile that.
Right. So it would be on the so if you know Go router, it would be on the endpoint pool. So on the route basically, which contains an endpoint pool. So the last update it receives would override the information for that route. But given that all nuts messages for that route are configured at one time, like once through cloud control, they should be all consistent. Unless there's an update that's kind of still propagating, then it could be inconsistent, but that should never happen consistently. It should only be for like a short time frame.
Right. I'll make a note to add comments.
And
And
we should
pass
still
it
think
around.
about how to make sure the Go router doesn't get confused or freak out when it has that kind of rolling inconsistency, even if it's ephemeral, and it's always the possibility of some sort of weird network partition where old stuff is coasting with old information, doesn't get an update. So we should maybe just give a little bit of thought to that. Because if if Go router is like, I'm seeing inconsistent information, I'm just gonna drop all these routes. That's probably bad.
Yeah, don't add that.
It's like, I just changed this parameter. I wanted another connection.
Yeah, also if it's a valid point to have this this option field also for routes that come in not by cloud controller but by a route registrar, then there could be anything in those fields. So if there's gibberish, we should not just fail, but fall back to the platform default, and maybe issue a log statement or whatever.
Yeah, in general, it should be fail open and not fail closed, so that we kind of just have sane defaults.
So, Alex, given that it's going to sit in the Go router, would it be, if there's configuration issues or consistency issues, have that appear in the logging messages for that route?
Yeah, right. I guess the error log's probably the appropriate place, and then we would. Yeah, it's implementation details now, but probably when the route is registered and we receive the values for the first time, then we would raise like, I got an invalid configuration. I'm gonna discard it and use the default. And then an operator has to check, because those messages are usually not related to the app, I think.
Yeah.
So we should think about if we can somehow
Maybe.
make them also show in the app logs.
Yeah, there's a way to look at stats for an app that gets like LRP information reported through the CLI. And I wonder if there's a way that you could, I don't know, like report stats for a route. So it's like, here's what GoRouter is actually using. Like, oh, you gave us gibberish. We're using Lee's connection. I don't know. Yeah, or
Yeah,
so
just
Yeah.
just my
But-
only concern in looking at it, Alex, was that the app dev thinks they have one routing algorithm in place. Things continue to hum along until they don't, and then that's when it's discovered that the defaults are being used. Say,
mhm.
Yeah. So for the app case, we should make sure that this is covered at the cloud controller level, so that this doesn't even happen if we can avoid it. So that's also a great case for cuts, I guess. And then for platform routes, the operator is responsible and the operator has access. So there, I think it's a bit less of a concern, but a concern nonetheless. Yeah.
Mhm. Very exciting. Thanks for starting this. Any more thoughts on this right now? If not, I'm sure we'll discuss this more in the future.
Yeah, thank you. This sounds cool.
Yeah. Very exciting. Alex, are you going to become an approver?
Is you still
I hope so, but I may become one.
Great. I'll look at it. I'll cite it to myself.
Thanks.
So
Okay.
unfortunately, I'll have to leave. So Dominic has to find a different microphone.
Meeting over.
Turn
Sorry.
mine on.
But thanks for the feedback, and I'm looking forward for the discussion.
See you, Max.
Bye.
Okay, another. Oh no. It's so bad. Oh, nope. That's assigned to me. Great. I love getting new approvers and reviewers. And another one. Great. Okay. I'm very excited to look at all these. Are there any other topics that we want to discuss today? Maybe if you unplug your headphones. Is it the headphones? Well, we can't hear you, but the beeping has gone away.
Yeah.
Oh. No.
No.
Oh. Okay. Let's see what's coming in the chat.
Be able to talk here. Be able to talk through mine.
Oh, Alex is
I
willing
was
to share.
just gonna say that the document title still says Wednesday, but it's Thursday. It's a very minor thing. Here.
Which document? Oh, here.
That's it.
Okay, I'll fix this because the times are wrong too. And probably the video chat changed. Okay, it's good seeing you all. Everyone take this time, go look at that RFC. And I will see you in April. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.